Well, welcome to hell. I actually don't know what we're doing here. This is the last pre-recorded. No one liked worst of 2019, which is an actual year that just happened, of movies. No, I put out the Razzie from Brian Michael's suggestion, and everybody was like, let me on this show. I have movies to talk about. So, yeah, we're in for hell. It's not going to be fun. This is a weird thing because we have a new setup, a new background. So Koho actually has to be on. He's a producer, so he can't fall asleep behind the wheel anymore. He actually has to be shown when we only have 3 people, which we normally have 4 on the panel. We had 1 late drop. But today I'm going to go first to Douglas. I actually messaged Douglas. I said, this screams you. So do you have a list for me? He goes, I'm working on it right now. So I wasn't wrong. Do you feel like, I don't know if there's going to be a winner this episode, but do you think you're going to have an okay list? Like I'm not going to be too frustrated that you actually think these are good movies?
Listen, it's very much guilty pleasure 101. When you talk about Razzie and anything that you like on Razzie, it goes to your list. But I found a few hidden gems, not like anything great, but it was a fun listen. I went through 80 or what was it, 38 years of our awards. I was like, nope. Okay, I can put you on the list. No. But no, I'm excited. This should be fun.
This episode is so bad that Kaleb, we had a late dropout. I said, hey, do you want to fill in? He looked at it. He said, I got 8, and I can't even bullshit the next 2. So I was like, okay, well, can't include you. I got Kevin on the show, first time on. He was supposed to be on the Star Wars one until the host and crew never got that put together in time. So I brought you on this episode. Maybe your tastes are a little bit better than some of those Star Wars movies that you like, but we'll see. How do you think you're going to do on your first time?
I hope I do better than what you guys thought. I think you guys will like my list. I hope so, at least.
And the mad scientist behind this all that mixed the bottles and came up with this concoction. Brian, we all know that you're a sick person, that you like chaos, even though he doesn't like chaos. He doesn't like to talk about bad things, but then makes this list and makes me have to sit through it. So, Brian, I already know that you are quite satisfied with your list. You're quite satisfied with the movies that you picked, and you're probably going to tell me I'm wrong the entire time. So how are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm expecting you to tell me I'm wrong the whole time. But I mean, I know you hold me responsible for this episode. You wanted ideas. I threw some out. You picked this one. And then you're like, oh, you're going to be on it, right? And I'm like, oh, I guess I am.
Correction. He said I can either host or I want to be on. So don't throw me in.
That works. But I mean, as much as you say that this is the worst thing that happened to the show, you know that this is the perfect topic for this show. Because what this show is about and what you love about it is when you get to trash people. And there's never going to be an episode where you get to trash them more than this episode. And you know that's true.
Well, if Ryan and Malcolm come around, they're guaranteed to be.
My list isn't going to disappoint. I already know people disagree with me. I mean, hell, of my 10 movies that were nominated for Razzies, 4 of them won the Razzie for Worst Picture. So we'll just see where it goes.
That's fair. Okay, so basically, this is what, episode 33, something like that. I don't know, 34 at this point. Basically, we go through our top 10 list. Everybody comes to the show with one. I do not get one. The only thing I got to wield is my opinion, and it's very strong today. We're going to break down our 10, 9, 8, pretty much honorable mentions, and then we're going to work 7 through 4, and then trade one apiece when we get to the top 3. I'm going to lead off with, I think I said it, Brian. I'm going to lead with Brian. Let me know what your 10 is.
My 10 is a little film from 1997 known as Spice World. Oh, yeah, I'm not disappointing now. Spice 9? World is...
Well, no, what's your 9?
You want to listen off? Okay, my 9
listen.
is Baywatch 2017. My 8 is The Mummy 2017.
Oh.
And my 7 is Hudson.
No, we're not so.
Right,
act like you've been here before.
I forgot how far you go. Oh, well.
Okay.
All right.
Start with your 10.
Okay, Spice World.
Listen, hold on. Malcolm's BS ripoff version of this might go to 7. We don't.
We're gonna edit this out.
No,
No, I'm not. I'm lazy. Fuck.
So he's guaranteed to see it. Okay, we're going ahead.
All right. So my 7 is Spice World. I like musicals, and this is kind of a musical, kind of a movie with music, whatever you want to call it. Everyone claims, I mean, no one in the world admits to owning the Spice World CD, yet they sold like 6 billion of them, so, most people are lying, at least if you were alive at the time. But it's just harmless fun. It's a film that knows what it is. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's just music, humor, girl power kind of thing, and it's fun, and I enjoy it, and so it is what it is. Baywatch. This movie is one that I put on here just because I'm not thinking it's a great movie, but it is not nearly as bad as everyone seems to say it is. I thought it was very funny. When it tries to get a little more serious and into the action in the last act, it kind of falls apart a little bit. But I think up until then, it's fun. Zac Efron's fun. The Rock is The Rock. It's got Alexander Daddario and Priyanka Chopra and these people that are nice to look at. So there's that. And then The Mummy 2017 is another one that I think is just unfairly criticized because it's not nearly as bad as people say it is. Tom Cruise is definitely miscast. He's playing a character that's probably 20 years younger than he should be. But Sophia Boutella is really good as the Mummy. It's written by Christopher McQuarrie and David Koepp, who did like Jurassic Park and some Mission Impossible movies, stuff like that. And it's definitely better than all those cheese-tastic, shitty Brendan Fraser, Indiana Jones wannabe mummy movies. So,
Whoa.
Yeah, I said it. Those suck.
No! I was going to be nice, and now it's no. Okay. Spice World, I'm sad to say this. I have probably seen this movie more times than I can count. My 2 sisters would play this all the time. The only song, I think there's the only song that I ever know is the same one they still play to this day, If You Want to Be My Lover, or whatever. That song is terrible at this point. But again, it was probably harmless fun. It knows exactly what this movie's supposed to be. It never says, hey, I'm going to be a Best Picture winner. Please watch me. So I can't hate that decision. Your number 9, Baywatch. It's definitely not the Baywatch that I used to wake up and like before school it would play on TNT or something. And I'm like, whoa, what is this playing? But it happened way too young in life. But this movie doesn't even know what funny is. It doesn't happen. It doesn't even know what funny is. Like I don't think I shed one chuckle at this movie. This movie tries way too hard to be funny and it fails. Plus, The Rock and Zac Efron, which I find Zac Efron underrated in comedic performances. I think he actually is really good. And The Rock I find hilarious. And they just couldn't make it work. And it was rough. Number 8 is The Mummy. Best part of this movie is Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde when he gets all dramatic near the end because you think he might switch. But this movie, Koho just froze in the creepiest way possible for me. That was real terrifying.
And then he was like,
he looked like he was turning into Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You can say this movie wasn't bad or this movie's not as bad. It killed the universe it tried to build. Tom Cruise put himself in way too many things at this point. Like, it had a good concept. I just remember the best thing to come from this movie is actually the trailer that they released without the sound. And it was just Tom Cruise screaming inside the tunnel. And you couldn't hear anything else besides the scream. It is by far the best thing to ever come out of this movie. But these are movies you actually kind of like, and that's scary for me. But it's at the bottom. I'm not going to give you too much shit yet. Doug, can you do better? Probably not.
Probably not. But my number 10 is The Bodyguard. My number 9 is Annie.
Yikes.
And my number 8 is Cobra. All right, cool. The Bodyguard. Come on, guys. It's Whitney Houston, and
yeah, come on, Doug. It's Whitney Houston.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. It's Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner. They fall in love. She's being hunted down by some guy trying to assassinate her. What more do you want? I don't know. I mean, the story. It's one of those guilty pleasures. If it's on TNT, I won't turn it off because parts of it are enjoyable. The chemistry is not terrible in this movie. that's my 10. I put it on there because I was like, it wasn't the worst movie to come out in '93. It shouldn't have been nominated. And then my number 8 is Cobra. This thing's got a cult classic. This movie is Stallone in his heyday in the 80s, just blowing shit up. Let's be honest, killing people and blowing shit up is a slow movie that you're wanting. I really, when this comes on, it's kind of fun to watch. I'll watch it straight through. I'll pop it on occasionally when I want to watch some classic 80s action fun. Yeah, that's Cobra. I'm trying to keep it short for you, Cody, so that way you don't have to.
Bodyguard, I Will Always Love You, and What Else? Basically, in that movie, it's a fine movie. I honestly don't think it. I don't understand maybe the Razzie like back then. That was just. I think that was a grasp at straws, really, because I don't think it's a great movie, but I don't think by any means it's like some of these movies that have been mentioned so far, even on Brian's list, and that you can look through the list. Bodyguard is just. It's better than some of the romantic movies that come out now. So Costner is great in it. I think we'll go to Cobra. You're the disease, I'm the cure. This movie is Stallone. Like somebody had to sit him down. And be like, do you really want to act? Yeah, of course. Like, cool. I got this, man. And then okay, go out there. You're the disease, I'm the cure. Okay, maybe you don't. We'll just cancel your career for a while. Like it is rough, but I can't fault you because it's that cheesy action movie kind of thing. And like anybody that went into seeing Cobra, if you saw anything from Cobra before you watched the movie, listen, if you're expecting Oscar-worthy performances, you might need to just lower your expectations just a bit. And it is not the best Stallone that's been nominated for a Razzie. I'll tell you that much. So we'll talk about that later, though. All right, Kevin, give us your 10, 9, 8.
All right. Number 10, I have Roadhouse. Number 9, Friday the 13th.
Yikes.
All right. And number 8, I have Big Daddy.
Yikes.
Okay, so you get to talk about your 10. So tell us about Roadhouse.
Okay. Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze as Dalton. I watched this movie when I was younger. It's a nonstop cheese fest of action. I always wanted to be a bouncer just because of this. He was just an ass kicker, and the soundtrack, the Hoochie Coochie Man. It was listed on one of the most enjoyable bad movies ever made. And it does have a significant cult following, and it is not Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. So, those are Swayze and Sam Elliott. I feel like it's not the worst movie in 1989.
Definitely let me know going through your guys' list if one actually won Best Picture for the Razzies. I don't know. Did Roadhouse win worst?
No, it lost to Star Trek V.
No, it
lost
yeah.
to Star Trek. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. If I told my dad that somebody would put this as one of the worst movies of all time, I would afraid what he would actually do, as he would do what Dalton did in this movie to people. This movie is this should be in the Criterion Collection, according to some family members of mine. Roadhouse is stupid, cheesy, bad, but it is all great in his eyes. So I have no problem at 10. No problem at 10. I actually didn't even know this was nominated for a Razzie. I didn't really look through the list that hard because I started looking and got terrified and backed out real quick. But wow, Roadhouse, good choice. And we'll talk about your other ones later. All right, we're going to go back to Brian.
Now I can talk about 7. 7 through 4. I know how this works now.
Ooh,
at number 7, I have Hudson Hawk.
Okay.
At number,
we're
talking about Hudson Hawk. Okay, Hudson Hawk won the Raspberry for Worst Picture in 1991 over films like Cool as Ice, starring Vanilla Ice, Nothing But Trouble, which is a shitty movie with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, and Return to the Blue Lagoon. So I'm just saying it did not deserve this award. It's a weird movie. It's a comedy action heist movie with like musical numbers in it. But I mean, it's fun. Bruce Willis was just starting to get kind of full of himself is after the first two Die Hards, but he still was showing personality in his movies, which he doesn't do anymore. And it's directed by Michael Lehman, who did some funny movies like Airheads and Heathers and some other stuff like that. It's out there. It's weird, but it's funny, and it's got a great cast, and I just enjoy it. I don't care what everybody says.
Okay, first I'll talk about Hudson Hawk for a second. So this is just going to be a little bit of a sad moment. So growing up, I used to watch the whole 9 yards and the whole 10 yards, or whole nine, whatever those movies were. Not great movies, but I always mistook this one for one of those because he looks like the same character on the cover of the thing.
With a
And I was
hat,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm just going to go to this. And then it was never that movie. Hudson Hawk is not one. I've seen it one time, and I do not remember much about it at all. So I can't really fault you, but I can't really say really because it's not one that stands out to me today. Kevin and Doug, Hudson Hawk. Why didn't you make your list?
Go ahead, Kevin.
I actually haven't seen Hudson Hawk, so I can't comment on it.
That's probably fair.
Homework assignment.
Same boat. Have never seen it.
Yeah.
And just like that Empire Records, you don't need to see it. I'm going to do something cool. Hey, producer over there, would Hudson Hawk made your list? Okay, fair. Okay, I'm just going to go to him when it's the talking time to see if he would what his viewpoints are because this will be a short episode. Okay, go to your 6.
Mercifully short in your eyes. Number 6 is 1988 Cocktail.
Yikes.
Ooh.
Okay, is it in that same range?
7
I have
to
it
4.
at 5.
6.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's just all talk about Cocktail right now because I think that's just because you all have it about the same spot, so everybody can. Which is real weird. I said this entire thing out, and everybody came back with Cocktail. So here we go.
Okay, well,
Brian, take it away.
Cocktail is one of those movies that I'm surprised it got nominated. When I saw it on the list, I was like, seriously, am I thinking of the right movie, Cocktail? Because it's not a great movie. It's certainly not one of Tom Cruise's best movies, but it's far from one of his worst ones. And it won in 1988.
Yeah.
This is the year that Caddyshack 2 and Bobcat Goldthwait's horse movie Hot to Trot came out. And they gave it to Cocktail. I mean, come on. There's something wrong with that. But I mean, it's a decent story. It's got a great cast. It's got Elizabeth Shue in her prime looking awesome. So, I mean, it's just one of those that I enjoyed, and I don't know why it was even nominated.
This movie, I really enjoy this movie. This movie made me at one point want to be a bartender and fling some bottles around and just look cool while doing it. You got a character who's named Doug in this movie. It holds a very dear part. No, but like seriously, he's a good Irish kid just trying to find his way in the world. Gets a bar. How this won over Caddyshack 2, that I have no clue. Caddyshack 2 is terrible, guys. This movie is significantly better than that. No, I think the comedy's in it great. It has a really good kind of like heart-wrenching scene like towards the end of the movie. I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't seen it. I mean, it was an 89, guys, but no, I really enjoy this movie, which is funny because like I said, I'll put it on whenever I want to watch.
Wait a minute, Cocktail won.
Cocktail
won. Was the
It
worst
won.
movie?
It won
beat
the
Caddyshack
Razzie.
2, and it beat Hot to Trot to win
Yeah.
the worst movie.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, go ahead, Kevin. You can finish it out.
I was actually I attended bar in college, and this movie made me learn the bottle flip trick. I wasn't great at it, but it made me want to learn that just because of Tom Cruise. It's and also I don't understand it. It made 9 times its $20 million budget. It was the 8th highest grossing film in 1988. It doesn't make any sense to me how it could be how it could even be nominated, but also how it could win.
Oh, okay. Well, I honestly still stand by this. I think Tom Cruise is a national treasure. Yeah, whatever his personal antics are out in his real world, whatever, but in movies, he is the go-to. Yes, he does bad movies. Don't get me wrong. He does real bad movies. But Cocktail, no. Not a bad movie. It's a mediocre road movie. It's a fine movie. It's not a great movie, but to win, and it also was worst screenplay. Yeah, please tell me how. Wow, I'm totally shocked. I thought like, okay, maybe they think Cruise overacted in this movie a little bit, or the movie was too silly. Man, the Razzies were a different time back then. I think this is like the worst movie of that year. I wonder how those people think Caddyshack 2 held up over the time. Okay.
Because Doug's number one, so don't trash it too much.
Yeah, true.
Spoiler.
All the rest of his movies are all from this exact year. All right, what's your 5, Brian?
All right, this is the moment everyone's been waiting for. My number 5 is a little movie called Movie 43.
Yikes.
Yes! Somebody else has it. Is it in the same range still? 4 to 7?
No.
Oh, even better. Okay, then my number 4 is 1985's Rocky 4.
Yikes.
Still higher? Okay.
All right, we're done with you, Doug. Take it away. I don't know. Hey, Koho, is it too soon to cut the show? Can we just cut it now? That terrified.
My number 7 is Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, this movie.
Is this the very first Friday?
Yeah, it's the very first one. I don't know. Like, I can't even justify it because the screenwriting in this, it kind of transformed the horror genre itself. Next to Halloween, I mean, you had this character with a ridiculously good twist ending. Like no one's expected it to be Pamela Voorhees at the end. This movie is still one of my favorite horror movies. Like, I don't understand what the Razzies were thinking, especially in the 80s, because they were on something. But yeah, no, I genuinely really enjoy this movie. This movie comes on Halloween. I'm watching it regardless.
Kevin, you had it as well, right?
I did at number 9. As Doug said, prompted by the success of Halloween, it's one of the cornerstones of 80s slashers. The mom being the villain. It did spawn some bad sequels and stuff, but and it's a bit campy. Not to make that a pun, but it had the sound effects, the mask. It's so iconic. I love this movie, so I don't know how it even made this list.
Yeah, that's a little weird of a choice. Friday the 13th, I mean, it's very out there. It's very weird. It's still one of those movies. I'm not a big horror fan. I don't like them. I don't like slashers especially, but I do respect, like, I do like the Halloween. I do like Jason to an extent. Jason X is the best one. But other than that, it's a little surprising that they went through, and I think the twist ending actually works in this movie really well. Like, I think that's what makes this movie better than most, because it actually was like, what? Okay, that's kind of freaky. Producer and Brian, Friday the 13th, was this made your list or no?
No. I mean, it was fine. All the Friday the 13th movies I think are mostly just kind of fine, but they wouldn't make my top 10 of these.
Anything. Okay, yeah, Brian hates you guys. That's fair. All right, go to your 6.
My 6 is Newsies. Yeah, Caleb. Yep, it was nominated. This movie, I really enjoy it. It was an original property from Disney. They wrote the musical for it, and you had a really young Christian Bale. It's now spawned its own Broadway musical, like, and different. You get different renditions of it. I really enjoy this. Watching, even still today, I'll pop it on Disney Plus with my niece because she really enjoys it. I don't know how people think it's a bad, like you have to be like the worst of the year, and if you think this is the worst of '93, you are mistaken. But the musical numbers are fantastic in this. It's about the Newspaper Boys strike if you don't know it, and I think it's a really good telling of the story. The Broadway musical is really good as well, so that's why I put it on my list.
I don't think I've officially. Maybe I've not. Maybe I have. It's always a tough one. Like which one I actually saw. Which one I know I've seen one of the versions of Newsies. I don't know. I've seen it one time. I think the show. I've seen the musical once. But I think the show's great. I'll have to go check this out to kind of revisit it to make sure which one I have seen. I'm pretty sure this is the one I have seen. It would fall in the same right place. But that's a little surprising that it hit the worst. Maybe because it was singing about newspapers, and who wants to sing about newspapers when we're talking about film? You children, Razzie it up. Producer, would this make your list? And Brian and Kevin, why no Newsies?
I have unmuted myself to say that when I went to make my list, I did not even see this. This would have been on there, and I would have had 9. I still couldn't have gotten to 10.
Oh,
well, you never know. Something could come up.
Kevin, you got anything to say?
I haven't seen Newsies either, so I'll have to check this out.
Okay, Newsies was one I considered putting on the list. Newsies is a strange animal because it's a movie that wasn't even going to be a musical until after like Christian Bale and Bill Pullman and the kid from Big and these other people signed on to the movie, and then they showed up and they're like, oh, by the way, we're making it a musical now. So Christian Bale was like, okay, I guess I have to learn how to sing and dance. So, I mean, the movie, you could kind of tell that the people they put in there weren't musically inclined. It was still very good, and I think they obviously hired a lot of dancers and things for background people. But I think when they made this, they transitioned to a Broadway musical, it was vastly improved, and I really enjoy the way that's done when they have actual, Broadway talent behind it. But the movie, it's fun. It's fine. I enjoy it. It's just one that just missed out of my top 10.
All right. Go to your 5.
My 5 was Cocktail. So
Okay.
we are going to my number 4, right? This is my first real guilty pleasure that's on the list. And that would be White Chicks. I love this movie. If you don't love this movie, you get Terry Crews. I love Terry Crews in this movie. Listen, White Chicks is about 2 detectives that go undercover as 2 socialites in the Hiltons, I believe, right? The Hiltons. And it's just
like we all know.
Listen, I'm just saying. No, but I think when I catch it and I watch it like on TV, I still laugh at a lot of the stuff that happens. Like, it's Terry Crews singing Vanessa's song da 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 da. A million miles. Yep, million miles.
I could run 1,000 miles again.
Yeah, there you go. there you go. Or all the girls talking in the dressing room, like she wedges up the thong all the way while he's getting changed. Listen, there's so many funny scenes in this movie. This movie still has me laughing. I don't think it's the worst of 05. It got nominated, but I don't think it's even should have been nominated because it was fun. It was literally a fun movie. It's not anything but that. And yeah.
Listen, Doug, listen. You told me to listen 14 times. I'm going to tell you to listen right now. You're wrong. You're dead wrong. Like, it was almost like somebody trying to convince themselves as they were talking that this has actually got some fun. Like, and the reason why I kind of have these reactions, like when you guys send me your list, I forward them to Koho, and then I kind of don't go back and look at them because I want to like have like that moment, like, oh yeah, that's your 4. I didn't know where it was going, and then it hit. Then we arrived. And to quote that movie, I'm gonna have a BF. I'm literally gonna have one because this is rough. Like this is just proof. Wow, the Wayans brothers shouldn't work in Hollywood. I'm not a fan of them. I don't find them funny. I find their spoof comedy even worse than this. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this movie by any means. Brian, I'm really shocked that you didn't have this on your list. Why not?
I want to know why White Chicks is okay and Soul Man is considered racist. That's what I want to know. A white guy puts blackface on, it's racist, but black people dress up as white, and it's okay.
We're not getting into this political.
I'm just saying it's double standards. But no, it's the two least funny Wayans brothers, and it's a stupid concept, and it wasn't funny. So yeah, to be honest, I barely remember it. I saw it once, but I remember not enjoying it. So.
I'm putting it on the wheel against somebody. Should put it against you in Warzone and make you have to study it.
Kevin, Soul Man on then.
No way.
To have it at no. Well, first off, it came out in 2004. This feels like it came out in 1994. It's that dated. It feels like to me, but the jokes I just don't feel like hold up. I feel ashamed and embarrassed when I even talk about this because of the whiteface thing. So yeah, I don't think that has any place in today's culture, but especially at number 4. But you do you, Doug.
I will. And I'll continue to talk my chicks.
Hey, Koho, have you ever seen this movie?
I would rather not the show get canceled further. I will.
We'll defer. Keep deferring. Okay, Kevin, start with your 7 and move on up.
All right. My 7 is the Blair Witch Project. My 6 was Cocktail. And my number 5 is Wild Wild West.
Whoa. Who had Blair Witch? Did anybody have Blair Witch Project? Or are you the only one?
No, I think Joe had it.
Okay. So go ahead. You talk about your 7 before we go and patch your list. You go one at a time. So talk about Blair Witch Project.
Okay. Blair Witch Project. The reason I put Blair Witch Project on my list, it's first off, I'm a big horror fan, but it started off, I guess it founded the found footage genre. A $60,000 budget, and it made $248 million. And the promotion for this film was unbelievable. They actually had people thinking that this actually happened. So this was one of those that it didn't necessarily carry on critically through time, but it did lend to Paranormal Activity like Cloverfield and other franchises like that.
Okay, so Blair Witch. This is a movie that I understood the hype back then. I don't even close to understand the hype still to this day. I find this movie incredibly boring. I find this movie I actually hate this movie for what it started. The shaky cams, I can't stand those movies. There's only a few that are actually I think Cloverfield, like you mentioned, I think Cloverfield's actually a really good one. But the shaky cam is one of my biggest pet peeves in a movie. If it has a shaky cam, I don't care if it's an Oscar-worthy movie, I will not probably go watch it because 1, it almost makes me sick, and 2, I can never get the girl's snot out of my brain from this movie. I just wanted to take a Kleenex and just stop. Girl, take care of yourself. Use a leaf. I don't know. It was disgusting. Blair Witch. Doug, you're a horror guy. Why no Blair Witch?
I overlooked
but
this
white
movie.
chicks.
I overlooked this movie.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I overlooked this movie. I didn't even see it on the Razzie list, and it's nominated with another movie that I have on my list. I guess I zoned in on that one movie and I didn't read the other ones. But no, I like the Blair Witch Project. I agree with Cody in the sense that it definitely started the craze of kind of documentary found footage thing, and some of them are good and some of them really are bad. This one is kind of really bad at points, but I enjoy it for what it is.
Fair enough.
Producer, would you have this on your list? Fair. Okay. Thanks for adding your 2 cents. Go to your. I'm going to give you a second chance. Was your 5 really Wild Wild West? Okay, here we go. Wild Wild West, Wilson, Desperado. Okay, here we go.
You don't want nada. None of this. No, this won the Razzie, just to give you that. The music, I obviously, you know it. You just quoted it. Kevin Kline, Salma Hayek, Kenneth Branagh, Ted Levine. Yeah, there are some bad parts, but I like how it brought together the Western. It brings together the Western feel and the technological aspects of like the big spider monster and Ulysses S. Grant. It's got all the feels of the things that I like. It's just a guilty pleasure of mine. So that's the reason I put it on my list.
Listen.
Go ahead.
You said some. I'm gonna say most. This is literally on a scene. I can't think of who plays the main villain in this movie.
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh. Like, what I do declare. Like, I remember, like, the terrible, like, Kentucky Fried Chicken, like, man, like, oh, come on into my den and I'll tell you. This man has spider legs pop out from his wheelchair and starts running. Why he's on a giant spider in the Civil War era time. This movie is ridiculous. I also remember I still had a cousin till like probably 4 years ago think that you could like do the thing where you look through the person's eye and flash it and see their last image or whatever. Scientific proof because Wild Wild West told him so. This movie is beyond guilty pleasures. This movie is like you're alone at 2 a.m. and no one in your house is awake, so they get you watching this thing. This is the movie equivalent of porn, I promise you. This movie is so bad. Doug and Brian, no Wild Wild West. Jim West. Why not?
I find this movie extremely disappointing simply because I like everybody in this movie. I like Will Smith, I like Kevin Kline, Kenneth Branagh, Salma Hayek, all these people are in this movie, but it's just so awful. I mean, there's nothing good about it. And the whole giant spider thing, anybody who's watched An Evening with Kevin Smith or heard him tell the story, the producer, John Peters, was like obsessed with this giant spider idea, and he tried to get Kevin Smith to put him in his Superman script and all this other stuff until finally Kevin Smith left the project. And so what does he do? He goes sees this new John Peters movie. And what did he do? He shoved his giant spider in this movie instead. And it's just, there's just, you can just tell it just looks like something that producers had too much hands in, and it's just a mess. And I feel bad for all the people that I like that are in it.
Doug.
Will Smith pats boobs and says that it's an African hello in this movie. Listen, this movie is terrible. There's no getting around how bad this movie is. I got to pick to go see this because I love Will Smith. Can I tell you how I asked for my refund at 12 years old? I was like, can I have my money back for watching that? It was bad, man. That's a bad. Yes, that should have won Razzie of the year for that one.
By the way, still one of my favorite quotes of all time from this exact movie is the man starts flipping. I learned that from a Chinaman. And literally Will Smith hits him in the face with a shovel and goes, I just made that up.
Oh, it did win for that year.
Yeah, it won. Yeah.
Great time. Okay, go to your 4.
All right. Me or Brian?
You.
Oh, me. I'm sorry. My 4 is Batman and Robin.
Oh, okay, it's actually here. Oh, no, go ahead. Start talking about it.
Okay. Batman and Robin is one of those films that, it kind of bridges the Schumacher gap. It has, yeah, it does introduce the bat nipples and all that stuff. I get it. It's bad. But it did win some Grammys. It doubled almost its budget. It had big names in it. It had some cheesy lines from Arnie. That was rough. I can't really defend that, but yeah, it's just a guilty pleasure. Again, this is one of my. It's just one of my. It's not my favorite Batman and Robin or Batman flick by any means, but as far as looking at this this list, it did win. It was nominated for Saturn Awards for like best makeup, best fantasy film, best costume, stuff like that. So I put it on my list for those reasons.
Yeah, that's fair. This is like how you kind of tried to defend this is like, say somebody comes over to your house and takes a shit in your living room, and instead of picking up the shit, your mother just went and grabbed a can of Febreze, sprayed it on it, and continued to have the family function going on. No, this movie, Koho, I'm going to go to you real quick. Can you please do the Bat card quote if you're there? It is literally one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Don't leave him.
No, you don't have to fully act it. I just want to hear it.
7,000. Never leave the cave without it.
That's literally, he pulls out a debit card and tries to pay for it. You said some cheesy lines from Arnold. This movie is just full of, and that's the best part of this movie.
Yeah, I know. I love those lines. I was about to say, I like those.
Yeah. Oh man. Like I think they forgot who Batman was. Like this entire time, they're like,
oh, George Clooney definitely mailed it in. Yeah.
This movie's just bad overall, like terrible. I'm glad that it won all these things. I don't know if it actually. I don't even care. Then they were wrong. The only thing it should have won was the Razzie. If it didn't, it should have. Brian, why not this one?
Because it's a pile of shit. Kevin, how old were you when this came out?
97. I was 10. So
okay. So if he wants to call it a guilty pleasure, and he was 10 years old at the time, I can respect it on that level. It's got some nostalgia. He was a kid. He likes all the Dingle colors, all that stuff. It's fine. I mean, It is an awful movie. Every line in the script is awful. I don't think George Clooney was the worst thing about that. I think he was fine, just doing the best of what he had. But I mean, even George Clooney says it's a bad movie, but he doesn't regret doing it because he called his accountant afterwards, and he basically said, now I can start making movies I want to make instead of movies I have to make for money because he got paid a shitload of money to make this pile of shit. But it's not good. Yeah, but as a guilty pleasure, and you saw it when you were a kid, I guess I can forgive you on that level.
Hey, Kevin.
Doug, why not?
I saw this when I was 10 too and could tell that it was a rolling turd as I saw it. Let's go over some memorable quotes of this movie.
We have to.
Let's kick some ice.
Ice.
In this universe, this is the only thing that's absolute. Everything freezes. This movie is terrible. No, there is no saving this movie. There's no saving anyone in this movie. This ruined a man's career. Chris O'Donnell does not have a career because of this movie. He had to go to TV several years later. He does not have a career.
That's fair.
That's all I said.
That's fair. That's terrible. Okay, we're to the shop of the show. Koho, did you like Batman and Robin?
It's number one.
All right, Brian, what's your 3?
All right, number 3 is from 1993. It is The Last Action Hero. Nobody else has it. Okay, so this is a movie that actually at the time I didn't love, but I've grown to like it a lot more ever since then. Because I think at the time Arnold was kind of, at his cockiest, and he was kind of overexposed. And the marketing I remember in this movie was just like so over the top. People were sick of the movie before it even came out. So it got people hated it before it even came out. But I mean, it's directed by John McTiernan, who did Die Hard, Predator, Hunt for Red October. It's written by Shane Black, along with Zach Penn, who did the Marvel's Avengers and X2. But it's clever. It's fun. You know, as a 90s action flick, it's got everything you want, explosions and cool one-liners and stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of taking the meta approach and kind of satirizing everything about action movies and Hollywood. And I just thought it was fun. And it's full of great cameos. So.
Yeah, I can't say much about Last Action Hero. This is another one that is, again, you're going in knowing what you should go in what to expect. I hated on the Throwdown one time. Rocco goes, "Oh, I hate that movie." Okay, like this movie just did you that dirty. Like, what did you expect? It's got a lot. It's full of cheese. It is literally, I think it's all the cheese of the 80s and 90s, like rolled into one and thrown into this movie. But it's got the good amount of cheese at times, but it's also got some little rough. But I don't have a problem. This is an expected pick from you on your list. I don't blame you at all. Kevin, Doug, have you seen Last Action Hero? Why didn't you make your list if you have?
I have. It didn't make my list because it was one of those ones that I skimmed over. I actually probably would have put it on my list, probably in place of White Chick, because I think the opening is actually solid. I think the opening's actually solid. I enjoy the opening a lot. I was, I think, 6 when this movie came out, so like, I really I enjoyed the movie. I think it's not terrible. I mean, I don't think it deserves a Razzie. I don't think it's a terrible. It's a cheese fest, but it's good cheese.
Kevin,
I have seen Last Action Hero, but it has been a long time, so I don't even recall enough to where I could have put it on my list without doing a lot of digging and just Wikipediaing it. So
that is completely fair. Okay, Doug, give us your 3.
Yeah. So you know there was this craze about Popeye's chicken? There was somebody that started that craze earlier, and his name was Adam Sandler with Little Nicky. I love this movie. You could say what you want about Adam Sandler. This might have started the downhill spiral of Adam Sandler, but I genuinely enjoy this movie. From the awkward, chemistry that he has, to him trying to kill his brothers. It's enjoyable. Like the when you get the pug and he's just or the bulldog and he's falling asleep and he's just got these like what it's like butterflies and stuff that he's snoring and making cat noises, and then you hear Nicky just snore away, and it's like the devil's inside of you, child. The corny jokes, I don't think this was the worst of 01. While yes, I understand people can, say what they want. It's corny, but again, I really enjoy this movie for what it is.
Popeye's chicken is fucking awesome. It's terrible. This movie is god awful. The man literally has tits on the top of his head at one point.
Yes.
Like that's literally a scene in this movie. Like, I wish I could do the quote of this, something that Jesus hit him with a wiffle ball bat or something. It is literally the worst of Adam Sandler. It is. I already know how somebody feels in this panel about Adam Sandler, but man, this movie is one of those terrible. Like, this is, I think, just started where he's like, do the stupid voice, Adam. Just do the stupid voice. Make us all laugh. Do the stupid voice. We like to laugh. Okay, I'm talking inside of my mouth. Brilliant! Put it in. It's brilliant. I hate it. I hate this movie. It is one of the worst. And I'm a fan of like Adam from like 90s, early 2000s at times, but this one's stupid. I can't stand it. Anybody else on Little Nicky? Brian, why didn't this make your list?
Because it's an Adam Sandler movie. The general concept of the movie it could be make for a good funny comedy, but it's like you already said, it's just Adam Sandler doing his he just came with a funny voice, and it just thought that would carry a whole movie, and it didn't usually carry him through entire like 5-minute SNL sketches. It didn't carry him in The Waterboy. I don't care what anybody says. And so it doesn't work in this movie either. And I don't remember the specifics of this movie because I saw it once and purged it from my memory, and I will never visit again. So no, it didn't make my list.
Kevin, Batman and Robin, but no Little Nicky. Why do you like some trash and not others?
I actually do. I do like Little Nicky. I just chose to put a different Adam Sandler movie on my list. But yeah, the voice thing threw me off. That's the main reason I didn't put it on. I find it grating and annoying throughout the whole thing. And I don't find that there are enough endearing parts to that movie. So that's why I didn't put it on there.
But you get chops in this movie.
Koho, have you ever seen Little Nicky? Okay, fair. I think you were called Little Nicky on the playground. Okay. I don't know if that can be insulting or not. I don't know if you have a friend named Nicky. Kevin, what's your 3?
My 3 is Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Fuck's sake. Okay.
I'm sorry, I refuse to put this banner on screen.
I knew this was coming. Okay. I'm never going to be invited on again.
You don't know how this works. You get to be in a special wing for this episode, but go
ahead. Okay, so Breaking Dawn Part 2, it is the first Twilight Saga film to, first off, it's the highest grossing of the Twilight Saga. It's the first one to change anything from the shitty books. There is a twist in there where that's not in the books. It turns the Volturi into a real threat. Bella is actually turned into more than just a piece of trash, lip-biting, lonely-ass teenager, and she turns into this badass. Even the cinema scores, a cinema score gave this an A. The budget was $136 million to the box office's $829 million. It went up against Battleship. I mean, I'm a big Twilight fan. I will say that. I will admit that. So I know that puts me in a different place for you guys, but yeah, Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 is just the way it changed the book and put that twist in there. That made this film where I don't think it deserved a Razzie.
Who knew that a man with a Lion King poster behind him would get so much shit on one episode? These movies, I will say as a whole, are awful. They are awful in my eyes. My wife loves them. I had to buy them on digital and like Blu-ray not too long ago. Never been opened because I refuse to watch them. Again, for the second time. But this one, the best thing about this movie is that it ends. That it finally is done. This movie also sent us, I worked at a theater, this movie sent us, people thought a third one was going to come, and there was never a third one, which I told people there wasn't going to be a third one, but they swore up and down that they needed these two back in their lives. Yeah, I think the scripts are bad on these movies. I think how they shot them, like there's always like a filter on each movie. Like the first one was blue, the second one was golden or brown. Like it just continues on, and then this one just, I think this is another one that I can't stand. I can't stand the part 1, part 2 thing, and it really just drives me batty that I had to sit through 2 of a movie to find the ending, which I didn't care about, but I had to sit there. And they could have just wrapped it up in that one. So I think this movie is not good at all. And you like it, but see, I can't fault you too much for it because you like it because it's in the franchise that you probably you maybe read the books or those are your kind of movies. That's fair. But in my show, still doesn't help you too much. That's still a shitty pick. But Brian, you literally hopped up, spun the chair, and left. So tell me, why did this not make your list?
Okay, well, first of all, you need to stop using box office as a defense for a shitty movie, because
That's true.
Popularity does not equal quality. A lot of people followed Hitler too. Doesn't make him right. Just saying.
Oh God! We're getting canceled.
Yes, we're doing racism and Hitler all in the same episode. But I mean, you said yourself that this is the first movie to change anything from the shitty books. Yet you sat through the first 4 movies anyway and made it to the 5th one. I mean, the Twilight movies. I mean, I understand that there's like the audience for them. It tends to be like, preteen or early teen girls, and maybe you were. I don't know what you've done previously in your life. I don't know. But I'm just saying, I am surprised that you like it, and if you do, great. But I don't understand it, and it wouldn't be anywhere near my list.
Fucking yikes! Oh, freaking Doug, please go.
Yeah, I've got nothing to say. This movie started one of the most trash trends ever, which was let's split our final book into 2 movies. It's not good. It's really not. I don't know what else to say. It's just not good.
Again, welcome to the show. Your list sucks. Again, don't take anything personal, but man, I feel bad for you because you're getting hit from all angles. And I've seen the list. I don't think it's going to get any easier from here. But we're going to go to Brian. If it only helps you, we're almost done. The torch is almost done for you.
Okay, my number 2 won the award in 1990, and that is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Now, this is one I don't expect anybody else to like, but when this came out, I just loved this movie. And I'll say, in my Letterboxd review, it was simple. I said, if you want to call this a guilty pleasure, fine, but I don't even feel guilty about it. I love this flick, and it's just as hilarious now as when I saw it almost 30 years ago, and probably 20 more times since then, because I just find this movie hilarious. I mean, okay, Andrew Dice Clay. He's created this character. I mean, he can act. I mean, you saw Star is Born. The guy can actually act if he tries to. But he created this character which he used for his stand-up comedy. And it was kind of whatever. But when you put him as a character in a movie with a comedy and a plot around that kind of fits that character, it really works. And I love this movie. It was full of awesome cameos. It's got the right sense of humor. It's produced by Joel Silver, which, around 1990, he was like the king of the action movies, especially the action comedies. It's directed by Renny Harlin, and it's just fun, and I don't care what anybody says.
Brian, I mean this in the nicest way possible. If you think I've seen the fucking Ford Fairlane movie, you're out of your damn mind. I have not seen it. Maybe
you
one
should,
day,
and you would laugh.
Maybe I'll check it out one day, so I can't give you too much crap because I haven't seen it. Smart strategy, but okay, cool. I'm gonna take I'm gonna go out on a ledge right now, and I guarantee it. Kevin, Doug, you have not seen this movie, correct?
No.
Correct.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Brian gave you everything you needed to know moving forward. If you want to go check it out, go ahead. How long is the movie, do you know? Is it 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, an hour, 40 minutes?
Do you actually want to know? It's an hour and 44 minutes.
Sure. Okay, so not too much if you want to waste your life on it. I'll expect reviews in the comment section below after you watch it. Doug, go to your 2.
I put an actual good movie for my number 2, and that's Rocky IV.
Somebody else had that, right?
Yeah, I think somebody else had it.
4.
Number 4.
This movie is incredible. I really enjoy this movie. It carries over in, they took the premise from this movie and carried it into Creed 2. And there's a reason they did that, is because the story's actually pretty good. There's a few things that are flawed with it, of course, but it's an 80s movie. You're going to find flaws later down the line. I just think the heart and the soul of this movie is kind of right there, and you kind of are along the ride. When Apollo dies and Rocky gets back in and fights, you're in that fight and you're there because you're just like, what's going to happen? It's kind of, you're right there. This movie for me is like one of my favorite Rockies besides Rocky itself.
Brian.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is one I was kind of surprised was nominated a little bit. I mean, it lost that year to Rambo, First Blood Part 2, so I think that Sylvester Stallone was just kind of the Razzie whipping boy of his time. But it's probably, I mean, it's totally formula. It's mainly made up of a bunch of montages, let's be honest. But it's also probably, for me, the most entertaining to watch. I mean, it's not the most dramatic and deep, plot-wise or acting or anything, but it's the most entertaining Rocky film to watch for me. And like Doug already said, it was instrumental in setting up not only Creed 2 with a direct connection, but even Creed 1 because of the death of Apollo Creed. So I enjoy it.
Kevin, did you have this on your list?
No, this was just outside my list. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is a crying shame. As a massive Rocky fan as I am, I think it's not my favorite Rocky movie. I save that regards for number 3. I just like 3 is the mixture of champions. I think it's the perfect blend. But Rocky 4 he defeats Russia. He defeats the Cold War. And people did not give it enough credit at that point. Like, no senator, no president, no foreign leaders, no UN, no one could end this. But Balboa says, "You killed my friend. I'll take on your biggest and baddest in your motherland," and whoops his ass. And those fight scenes are disgusting once you know the story behind it, that he literally says, "Hey, Drago, knock me out. Like, hit me as hard as you possibly can." He spent time in the ICU after this movie. Like, you can call it what you want, but I don't see how you sit through all the other Rockies and you get to this one, you're like, what did you do to Rocky Balboa? No, this is the most Rocky Balboa has ever been. Rocky literally puts the country on his back and like goes and just whoops ass. Like, and I think even the setup with like Drago and stuff, and I think his Drago's performance, when he's like, if he dies, he dies. Like, he's just this ominous force. And those rib shots that Balboa is taking looks like I just want to spit teeth out. Like, it's rough. Koho, would this made your list? Would this been one of the worst? This is the worst one? That's the worst movie?
No, best.
Oh, okay, cool. Just good. I just want to try to catch you. And Kevin, you said this just missed your list, right?
Yeah, it just missed my list, yeah.
That's fair. Okay, Doug.
Kevin.
No, sorry,
Kevin's
Kevin,
2.
you're 2.
My 2 is movie 43.
Go ahead.
All right. Movie 43 is a series of sketches.
Whoa.
I can't even.
Whoa, I won't even let you continue. Please use a better term than a series of sketches. This is not what those are called, but continue on. Jeez. Way too much credit.
Okay, it's an anthology comedy then that...
That's worse. I'm sorry. Go back to sketches.
But, okay. First off, I will tell you, it did win the Razzie.
I'm shocked.
I imagine so. But kids, teens, Brian age boomers, old pot smoking hippies, anybody can find something in this movie that is funny, that they like. There is something for everyone in this movie, I think. From the Hugh Jackman having testicles on his chin to Gerard Butler being a leprechaun. I mean, this movie is fucking hilarious. I don't care what anybody says. It's guilty pleasure or not. I love this movie.
Go ahead, Brian. Please.
It's not even a guilty pleasure. I mean, It is an anthology of comedy shorts and sketches, and it's just like, I mean, there have been movies before this. Like, there's one called Amazon Women on the Moon. There's one called Kentucky Fried Movie made by I believe it's Sucker Abrams. But I think a lot of people just don't really get into this kind of movie. I mean, which surprises me in the age of like the YouTube and the college humor kind of thing with all these comedy shorts. Because really, I mean, not all of the sketches in this movie hit, but I think there are far more hits than misses. I think several of them are very, very funny. There's a story used to loosely connect them, and that part is stupid as hell. I will freely admit that. But the individual sketches, I think, are actually very funny. And I mean, it certainly didn't deserve to win the award over a Medea Christmas After Earth. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So yes, so this thing had a budget of $6 million, and I guarantee all these people listed got their Christmas paid for from this movie. They're like, hey, I just had to do it to go and do a quick shoot and get out. I even see synopsis on IMDb. Warning, spoilers. Oh, I'm real worried about that at this point. Gosh, like, I think what the main thing is they didn't sell it as strong as they did when the movie came out, like what the movie was actually about. And then they see the cast of talent in there, and they're like, okay, this movie's going to rock. And then, boom! If they would have been like, this is going to be the stupidest thing you've ever seen, lower your damn expectations, maybe fine. But if you guys have ever popped this movie on after the first time you watched it, fuck you two. Like, I don't know.
I watched it several times.
That is
that
is. You hate Adam Sandler. I'm gonna move.
I mean, who doesn't want to see Anna Faris asking Chris Pratt to shit on her? I mean, come on.
All right, guys, I'll give you an actual really good anthology comedy short. Go watch The Meaning of Life. That's a good one. That's a good one. Movie 43 is listen, if I could find the negatives of that film and throw it in a garbage fire, I would. That movie is horrible. The one scene that made me laugh was the period scene. And that's just because they didn't know what to do, and it was so stupid. Like, you don't know what to... no, I can't. There's nothing to defend about this movie. Sorry.
Yeah, we're good. Move it on. Here we go. What is your number one, Brian?
My number one. Okay, this is one. I don't think deserved to even be nominated, and that's just because I think that the Razzie people don't like musicals, and that's 1982's Annie. If anybody's keeping track, I already exited from earlier, but I mean, I love musicals. People know that, and this is not just a great musical, but it was directed by Oscar Best Director winner John Huston. I mean, he's been nominated 10 times for the Oscar for Best Director. It's got classic performances from Tim Curry and Carol Burnett and Bernadette Peters. I mean, they perfectly fit the roles, and it's just fun, and it's something everybody can enjoy. And I really just think it's another one of those things where it shows the Razzie people didn't like musicals. But I don't think it even should have been nominated. But it was a great movie. I don't care.
Who else had Annie?
I did.
Where'd you have it?
I had it at my 9.
Okay, treat it like an honorable mention still.
I got you. I mean, the music's iconic, the film's iconic. It's grown in time. There's not much more you can say what Brian said. It really shouldn't have been nominated. There's no way that it should even touch the Razzie list. I agree that they don't like musicals.
My favorite comedic actress of all time is Carol Burnett. It's not even close. No one will probably ever be able to touch her. She is the queen of comedy. I think she is better than most males at comedy. I think her and Albert Finney doing that scene, just pretty much sign the check, like sign over the kid. We're moving on. Let's just get over it. And like them back and forth, and her like drinking out of everything she possibly can, and she plays Miss Hannigan. I think the people get down on Annie because the story of Annie is a creepy musical. It's not that fun of a musical because like a rich guy adopts a girl. It's a weird like concept for people. But overall, the music's fine. It's not great, but like Carol Burnett in this movie steals it from start to finish. And Albert Finney is a perfect Daddy Warbucks that they play off each other perfectly well. I couldn't agree more. If I was making a list, this would be my number one, hands down. I've watched this movie more times than I can count. It is my favorite. It's not my favorite like live musical that I've ever made to film, but it'd probably be in my top 10 because of the nostalgia and everything beyond it. And Tim Curry as Rooster playing that Easy Street scene is amazing. So again,
and somebody tell me how this gets nominated, but the 2014 one wasn't nominated for a Razzie.
Oh,
come
please,
on.
yeah, that movie is garbage. That you want a bad Annie? Go watch that thing. That was awful. Okay, Kevin, Annie didn't make your list. Have you seen it or just missed or what?
No, I actually haven't watched it all the way through. I've seen pieces of it and I've heard the songs, the famous songs, but I haven't watched it all the way through.
That's right. Okay. Now, Doug.
Yep.
What you want?
Yeah, my number one is Big Daddy. This is probably one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies of all time. I really enjoy this movie. The heart that's in this movie. Listen, if Adam Sandler, like, this was when I knew that he could do stuff outside of comedy. Comedy was great, but like, he legit made me cry in that movie. Like, there's heart-wrenching scenes in this movie, like throughout the movie. Like, really, like the scene when he's standing at the end and he's talking to his dad saying, "I'll be okay." I'm just crying. Still to this day, because I watch that movie occasionally because I really enjoy it. The cast in this is really good. Of course, it's Adam Sandler's buddies, but like, there's a lot of people in it that are just phenomenal. And it has jokes that are really funny. If I make this putt and the rat comes out, it's great.
God.
He makes fun right there.
You got to start calling her Dr. Big Boots McGee.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy this movie. I don't think it should have been nominated. I don't think it should have touched a nomination. I don't know. Maybe they don't like Adam Sandler at all, but maybe I don't know. But I don't get it.
Who else had this, Kevin? Right?
I did.
Where'd you have it?
I had it at number 8.
Okay. Yeah.
This movie, as Doug said, it pulled at my heartstrings. It's about the Adam Sandler plays a lazy, kind of good for nothing guy who just is thrown this 5-year-old kid in his lap and doesn't even know how to take care of him. Lets the kid pick his own name, Frankenstein. I mean, that's awesome. The Scuba Steve stuff where he actually dresses up as Scuba Steve, that's awesome. There are just so many parts that make me feel good in this movie. This is the movie where I feel like, instead of Little Nicky, that this doesn't deserve at all to be on a Razzie nomination as far as Adam Sandler movies. Not to mention it has a completely awesome soundtrack.
Yes. So you, Doug, and Brian picked would be my 1 and 2. It'd be easy and close. Big Daddy is one of the movies that I still go to this day. I love this movie. Basically, just through all the parts, like, can somebody get the kid a Happy Meal? And there's a friend, will you, my therapist, take a walk? I quote at least 4 times a week, quit pulling your sister's hair, numerous times. It's just one of my favorite quotes for that movie. And then the heartbreaking scene is, I wipe my own ass. I wipe my own ass. You do, buddy. I know you do. And it's just, and Rob Schneider, I don't think has ever been funnier in an Adam Sandler movie than this. It's like, I have a cat. He bites his head off. What kind of cat would do that? You calling me a liar? Screams at the kid. It's so funny. I think this movie, when you put this on your list, I was just like, what? This is nominated, but I kind of understand it because it was Adam Sandler at a time. But it's honestly the least Adam Sandler he was in any of those movies. Like, he's literally shows the most heart. He does stupid things, but he's got the most heart. So, well done. Brian, I'm real shocked that this movie didn't make your list. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, people know that personally speaking, I'm not a big fan of Adam Sandler, but I will say this is probably one of his more tolerable movies for me. I mean, I don't like it. I don't ever go back and watch it, but I don't really mind it. I mean, it came out between 2 of his worst ones, Waterboy and Little Nicky. So this one was kind of a bright spot in that brief part of his career there, but it wouldn't make my top list, but I don't hate it.
All right, and we have finally arrived to Kevin's number one. Kevin, you have so far had Batman and Robin, Breaking Dawn Part 2, Movie 43. What is the top of the shit pile? Please
brace yourselves. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. The reason I selected this particular movie is based on the fact that coming off of the shit pile that is Star Wars Episode 1, they did recognize that they needed to limit Jar Jar Binks. The Yoda and Dooku battle or lightsaber battle. They introduced Boba Fett as Jango's son. They progressed the story about Anakin and Padme, the love story there. And I know that, yeah, I understand it. I understand it's not progressed well, but it is George Lucas directing. So, but the planets that we get to see, Camino is a cool planet. Geonosis I thought was cool. Some of the, actually, I think all of the creatures and stuff that we saw were cool. So out of, the Star Wars stuff that I got to pick from, being the Star Wars nerd that I am, this is the one that jumped out at me, being nominated, and I don't feel like it deserved that nomination.
Can somebody answer me real fast? Did this win screenplay win? Because if it didn't, it sure as hell should have.
No, Cody, I'm sorry. I had to step in. The fuck are you thinking? Attack of the Clones at number one, undeserving of a. This should have won worst picture, worst screenplay, worst director, worst actor. This should have won worst of the century. This is the worst. Period.
Quick note, Cody. Yes, it did win worst screenplay.
That's justified. So I just went through a rewatch of all the Star Wars, and there's one thing that I gathered. I don't understand everybody's fandom of these movies. Like, I get it. Like, I get it if you grew up with it and those are your kind of movies. I just find most of them okay, good, some good, but mostly But this one, it was the one that was the hardest to go through. I actually had to watch it in 2 parts. I literally stopped, had to go do something else, and came back to finish it. I think Anakin's acting, I think Hayden Christensen's acting in this movie is so bad, but I don't think it's really his fault. I think it's what he was really given. That script is real bad. And I always guess in trivia, like if it's what Star Wars planet, I will guess Geonosis for everything, and it's only featured in one movie and one battle, and that's it. But it will always be my guess. There will be no other guess for that. Me, it's just like I had an argument with somebody the other day. They said, "Well, what about the Dooku, Obi-Wan?" talk. Well, yeah, those are good moments in the Jedi fight. That's cool, but like the overall movie is just so slaw. Like they made it a romantic story when they didn't need to make it a romantic story. Like you could have figured out a different way to like instead of leading us on this entire. The first one was C-SPAN. The second one was Notebook in Space. The third one is actually a quality of a movie. The third one is at least quality, and if it was the Notebook in Space, at least they like. Hopefully Natalie Portman's erased this from her memory and can't remember being in these movies because they are bad. Brian, you're a Star Wars guy. You really like Star Wars. I don't know when the Razzie nominations come out for this year, but I'm hoping Rise of Skywalker's on that one. But
no, that's like one of the best films of the year.
Yeah.
And I say that unironically. Anyway,
that's bullshit. But continue on. Tell me why this one didn't make your list at all.
I don't like this movie. The prequels. I mean, even Revenge of the Sith, I don't think is very good. But like you said, it's the best of the bunch, best of the three.
But you like Rise of Skywalker.
But I mean, it's if someone's a huge Star Wars fan, as Kevin clearly is, I mean, he was going to be on your Star Wars show before, and it doesn't surprise me that he's going to really enjoy one of these and think it doesn't deserve a Razzie, and that's fine. At least it wasn't Phantom Menace, which I arguably I think they're both equally bad, but for a Star Wars fan, again, I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack.
Doug.
Your description of Star Wars is exactly how I felt watching this movie. It was literally just too long. It's too long. You're talking about they cut back Jar Jar. I wish there was more Jar Jar in this movie. I would have got less sand. It's so coarse. It's was
that Adam Sandler Anakin? What was that?
That was. It would have been better.
Sand, it freaking sucks. It's going everywhere. It's coarse. Crazy.
Would have been better.
Fucking awesome.
No, this movie is just terrible. Listen, I'm a fan of Star Wars as well, but like, I can't. It's hard to watch this movie. It is hard to sit through and watch this movie. Even if you take it in like strides, it's like I try to watch it via Machete Cut, but it's still really hard to watch this movie.
Well, this is like the one Star Wars movie. This and Phantom Menace. It's like they're ones I will never go back and watch by itself. Like, hey, I want to watch this movie. So the only times I'll ever watch them is if I decide to binge the whole series again.
So, the Sandline gets way too much credit when he comes back in the tent after murdering all those people. He's like, I murdered, killed them all. Men, women, children. Like he gets in this little angry tirade. I'm like, oh yes, you're going to become Lord Vader soon. I forgot. No, you do not see it at all. So as a Star Wars fan, I will give you a slight pass, but guess what a slight pass means in your list sucks? Absolutely nothing. But we've reached our end of the list. You guys have sent me through hell. Here we are. We're going to go through your top 10 combined. I kind of ranked it from like the worst at the bottom, the best at the top. So, and that's how you guys all put it together. So we'll see. At number 10, sometimes I had no choice. Breaking Dawn Part 2. It's the lowest I could get it. It had to be on the list, though. Number 9, Little Nicky. Again, wish I could stamp it out. Number 8, Last Action Hero. Number 7, Movies 43. Hey, do I? Movie number 6 is Fort Fairway. Good Lord. Number 5, Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Number 4, Annie, Shame. Number 3 is Big Daddy. Number 2 is Cocktail. And the number 1 overall is Rocky 4. So that is your guys' list. I did give grades. I already gave them before you guys even started talking because I already knew it. I told them, Doug, you win. You get C minus. Not bad.
I thought they would all be Fs.
Yeah, well, they're pretty close. Brian, you got D minus. I would actually, after talking to you a little bit more, you'd probably be a D plus and entering the Hall of Fame at last place. You get a Z.
Z minus.
Z minus. Your top 4. Your top 4 has to be the most atrocious top 4 that's ever been on your list. So I want to applaud you for that.
That was pretty bad.
Upcoming lists. Next, this one after it airs is going to be Best of 2019. I'm doing a 5-person panel. If you have a list, please send it in. I have probably 2 spots already locked. The rest of them are still open. There's 3 spots open. After that is going to be Best Performances of the 2010s. So an actor given the best performance, please come on. It will be a blast. After that is going to be Oscars. Again, we'll know a little bit going into the Oscars what we want to talk about. It drops, well, when you're watching this, it will drop tomorrow for us. So I'm excited to see what we can talk about. 12 is Worst On-Screen Chemistry, and I guarantee there may be one movie that was brought up today that could make that list for Valentine's Day. And A24, hosted by Paul Oyama. That'll probably be pre-recorded episodes. And then Overrated Classics with Boatman. So all of them? No, I didn't say that. So check us out for those. Please send us your list. If you want to be on the show, you have to send a list. If you do not, you can't be on. Sucks. All right. Have a good night. Peace.